So let's get to the big three.
Number 3.
We just made a deal today, a big one with Indonesia. They've opened up Indonesia fully. You know, Indonesia really has great copper, very, very powerful copper, but they have a lot of things, and we have full access to Indonesia.
There you go. One deal done. That means the UK, Indonesia, and Vietnam. Inflation not tamed but trade. Tech and deregulation has been really have the economy ready to blast off. Now that we have this trade deal done, I sense the EU will be next, followed by India, and who knows, maybe even Japan or Canada.
Number 2.
Really excited for the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani. I think a lot of people just need to get to know folks before they issue an endorsement, and I hope that this conversation can be constructive to bringing the party together and rallying behind our nominee.
Well, the business meetings did not go well. New York Democratic mayor primary winner, socialist Zohran Mamdani in D.C. will give you the latest. Also, the latest on the 28 race. Democrats already jockeying for position, including one governor of California.
Number 1.
The Department of Homeland Security is blaming Democratic politicians for a spike in recent assaults on U.S. immigration and customs officers. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem directing her ire at California Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yep, stunning success. That's the only way to characterize the sealing of both our borders under Donald Trump in 6 months as ICE and Dems fight it out in almost every way. And the more you think about it is, once again, a version of defund the police. When they talk about ICE and getting ICE out of your town and your city, it's a version of defund the police. We know better than law enforcement. We like our illegals. In fact, if you're Karen Bass, we'll find money and pay you because they don't want to go to work because they're afraid of being arrested. Get your mind around that. Jason Rowley joins us now for the Wall Street Journal, Manhattan Institute senior fellow, Fox News contributor. Jason, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Good morning.
And by the way, your latest book, The Affirmative Action Myth, Why Blacks Don't Need Racial Preferences to Succeed. Jason, first off, your thoughts about the breakfast that seems to be lightly attended by Democrats. Are they afraid of this guy?
You're right. He's radioactive. I think that is the proper word to use. They're being very pragmatic here, these Democrats who don't like Mamdani. They know that the country has by and large rejected the progressive agenda. I think Democrats, Brian, are looking for someone who will take on Donald Trump's policy. You'd expect that from the opposition party. But I also think Democrats are looking for someone who will take on the party's left wing, which they believe has driven Democrats into a ditch over the past few years. You know, Biden might have run as a moderate, but he certainly governed as a progressive. It was a disaster. They replaced him on the ticket with Kamala Harris, another progressive. It was a disaster. So they've seen this playbook before. They've seen how things turn out. And I think that's why you've seen the attitudes they've shown towards Mamdani.
So I want you to hear, this is AOC trying to explain him, cut one.
Really excited for the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, to be here in Washington, is to really, experience and have people see him face to face and kick the tires, themselves, and hear what he has to say about making New York affordable for working people. I think a lot of people just need to get to know folks before they issue an endorsement, and I hope that this conversation can be constructive to bringing the party together and rallying behind our nominee.
He wants to be mayor of the financial capital of the country, maybe the world, and doesn't like capitalism. He wants to defund the police. I mean,
he wants to defund the police, so it's attitudes towards law enforcement, his attitudes towards education, just turning things over to the unions and letting them run with it. His attitudes towards Israel. New York City is a heavily Jewish city, and yet this guy doesn't think that the Jewish state should exist. Globalize the Intifada is a slogan he does not have a problem with. There are all kinds of red flags with this individual. He wants to raise taxes. He wants to open government-run grocery stores. This stuff has worked nowhere that it has been tried. And while it might sell in New York City, Brian, as you know, he is leading in the polls, I think smarter Democrats know that in places that aren't as liberal as New York City, this is a political loser. And that's why these Democrats are trying to distance themselves from him, other than the progressives out there like Bernie Sanders, like AOC, and so forth. I think the smarter Democrats, the more conscientious Democrats know that this is not a winning candidate nationwide, and that the party really needs to start to distance himself from individuals like this.
So I look at the Wall Street Journal today, and they say it's basically you admit it that Trump's idea when it comes to tariffs is working. He's bringing over $100 billion. He's got 3 trade deals. Do you look for him to cut more and use August 1st as a legitimate deadline date, like we see Major League Baseball and football use this as a trade deadline?
Well, we'll see. He's set deadlines in the past, and I'm wondering if the people he's trying to negotiate, these other countries, are looking at that history and wondering if this is another deadline that might come and go. I mean, that's one thing I think they're certainly considering. You know, Trump wants the Fed to lower interest rates, Brian, and they're pointing to his tariff policy, to his trade policies, as a reason not to do that. You know, their inflation goal is 2%. Right now, according to the June report, we're closer to 3%. Trump is right that certain prices have gone down, like the price of eggs, like he likes to say. But prices of other things, you know, fresh produce, fruits, vegetables have gone up. Price of coffee has gone up. Why? Because a lot of those are imported goods, and because of the tariffs, prices have gone up for those goods. So Trump has got to convince the Fed that these tariff policies will not damage economic growth in this country. And maybe we'll see if he's able to do that. But I think that is his challenge right now.
The one thing is, I think it's fascinating to see that AI conference yesterday and see the billions of dollars are going to be poured in, that they feel like they're unleashed to go explore. And also, big story in your newspaper about the big push to get rare earth here at home. And ideally, we could be having our own magnets, our own metals between 3 and 5 years. Right now, China has 90% of the world's rare earth, and almost everybody on Earth needs it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And if we can develop those industries here domestically, or do a better job of developing more of them here domestically, I think that's good. It's good for economic security. I think it's good just geopolitically. You don't want these bad actors out there controlling supply chains, controlling access to these valuable minerals and so forth. And so, no, this is all good. And I'm glad to see the Trump administration moving things in this direction.
Yeah, I think there was a very successful meeting yesterday. I just think it's pretty amazing to talk about cryptocurrency. He's open to it. A 79-year-old guy would normally, a lot of times traditionally say, well, leave that stuff away. It doesn't seem real to me. When it comes to AI, you guys work it out. Instead, he said, let me lead and let me listen. He sits for the whole conferences and tries to take in as much as possible.
Yes, I agree. I think he's gotten some advice from his kids on some of these issues, and so yeah, he's listening to the next generation and trying to stay up to date on things.
So Jason, no one has to tell you it's coming up to year 250, and now you would argue that this is also a big year, 249 in 1775, as we celebrate of the America's birth. But in the New York Times, they're going to go out of their way, you believe, to reaffirm their 1619 project that did more to harm a generation of America's kids about American history than anything else. Do you think they're still not embarrassed enough by the results of the 1619 project? They're going to reaffirm it?
Oh, I think absolutely. We got a preview of what to expect in the run-up to next year's celebration in the 1619 project, which was released 6 years ago. And the ideas put forth in this false history have only been mainstreamed since then. Nicole Hannah-Jones, the lead reporter at the Times behind the project, won a Pulitzer Prize. As you know, the National Education Association, the nation's largest teachers union, has partnered with the New York Times to spread this false history in our K through 12 school curriculum. Oprah Winfrey produced a miniseries based on the 1619 project. So these ideas, unfortunately, are getting mainstreamed, and that's my concern. You're going to have people out there putting forth this false history that slavery was somehow this uniquely American evil, when in fact it was a global institution that has been seen in societies down through history. What really distinguishes America is emancipation, not slavery. And so I'm really particularly disturbed that our children are being taught this nonsense. And so I think, yes, the New York Times will use the 250th birthday of this country to double down on these notes. They have a political agenda. The agenda is to control the narrative, to gain more power by controlling that narrative. They are not interested in serious discussions about this nation's history, and they're willing to distort that history if necessary to push a political agenda.
Can you imagine if Kamala Harris had won or Joe Biden had won? With this 250 probably would have been an apology, 12 months of apologizing for America, in their view, their imperfections. One thing about President Trump, you don't have to doubt his patriotism. They already have the 250 movement going, fully staffed. It's going to be nonstop symbolism and ceremony for at least a year. Then you got it right into the Olympics.
No, you're absolutely right. We have no worries that Donald Trump will celebrate this off the charts and encourage everyone in the country to do that. And under Kamala Harris, probably under any Democratic president, there would have been pressure to put more balance into this history and to not be too jingoistic and so forth, or too pro-American, and to highlight some of the nation's faults and all that. But no, we have no worries about that happening under President Trump, Brian. You're absolutely
and I have
right.
a prediction. Before August 1st, we're going to get an EU deal, a Canadian deal, as well as a deal with India. I'm not sure about Japan moving off cars. That's my prediction, Jason. Remember this moment.
Okay, I will.
Wall Street Journal's
Thanks.
Jason Riley. Thanks. Brit Hume joins us now. Hey, Brit.
Hi, Brian. How you doing, buddy?
Good. First off, the breakfast, I don't have many details. I'm doing the show simultaneously, but it looks like Mamdani was in D.C. to try to win over some Democrats, but yet he doesn't back off of any of his statements and beliefs except for globalized intifada, which he says that he likes the idea but won't use the term. Is this guy just an isolated challenge for Democrats, or is it a symptom of something bigger?
I think it's a symptom of something bigger. It's kind of an extreme example of the drift of the Democratic Party over the last several decades. They have moved left. It's arguable that the Republican Party has moved right, but the Democratic Party has moved farther left than the Republican Party has right. And now we have this likely winner of the mayoral race in New York, whose views are simply way out of step with the majority of Americans.
But there's other disciples. For example, there's a socialist running for the vacant seat in Michigan. There's another run for Congress in Minnesota. There's another one that ran for the vacant seat in Arizona, wasn't successful. But you see this bubbling up, and it reminds me of David Hogg, the now ousted deputy chief of the DNC.
Yeah, I can understand that, Brian. I think what we're seeing here with this is that there are certain bad ideas that won't go away. And socialism and communism are bad ideas. They don't work. They've caused no end of trouble and sorrow in the world, and yet there are still people who adhere to them and think that they've never been properly tried.
I guess so. So we'll see what happens. They're trying to win over some people, but don't you think it's definitely an important point that Schumer, Jeffries, Governor Hochul, any type of leadership, Dan Goldman, Jewish Democrat from New York, no one's endorsed this guy? I mean, what are they going to do? He's likely to become the mayor. I mean, we've seen a lot of different things over the last 20 years, but do you see momentum getting behind a disgraced Cuomo or a rehab Derek Adams?
Well, it's remarkable what people will do when, the only alternative is somebody you like almost as little as you like the one you're trying to beat. And in this case, a lot of people look at this race and they say, well, as bad as Andrew Cuomo is, or as weak as Eric Adams is, I'd rather have him than this guy.
Here's what President Trump said, cut 6.
I think if the three people would combine into one, they would easily win. I don't know if they're smart enough to do that, but if you break up the vote, it's going to be, I think, virtually impossible. It's actually very dangerous. The good news, I can control it from Washington because we're the ones that issue the money. And if we see somebody's destroying the city, we're not going to let that happen.
He really can't control it from Washington. He could do some stuff, but to have a constant battle in New York, it's just very interesting because these business leaders don't want any part of it. But Britt, I like to talk about what's happening with the divide in the Republican Party. How would you characterize what's happening with this brewing situation with Epstein and how certain elements of the Republican Party, the MAGA movement, won't let it go, and the president wants to give it the Heisman?
my view of that is that the most remarkable thing about that story is how unserious it is. I mean, this is a story. The Epstein story is remarkably inconsequential. We're in a situation where across the world there are trouble spots, wars being fought. Some of them won, some of them trouble. We got major policy enactments at home. We've got worries about the economy. We got all of this, and we got some guy who didn't matter much when he was alive, and now he's been dead for 6 years now, and people are still talking about him.
I agree, and I agree with you, Britt. And Martha McCallum and I were talking about this yesterday, and I am name dropping to impress you. And we're basically the only three. Oh, everybody else is like, wow, this is a bigger deal. You don't really understand. My thing is, I watched Dan Bongino sit on a couch and say he killed himself and there is no list. And then I watched Kash Patel say the same thing. And this leading journalist in Miami that blew up the whole story was on another channel yesterday, and I'm watching it. And she said there is no list. There was a logbook of phone numbers that this guy had, but there was no list. So at one point, do you think that this is all about clicks for people that make their living in social media?
Well, it is to some extent, Brian. Look, I think the way to look at it is this. So before they got into office, Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi, and to a lesser extent Kash Patel, were making hay on this question and talking about how they were suspicious. They didn't believe the official story that he killed himself, and there's got to be more to it, and his client list is being protected. And I think that they earnestly believed that there was a client list and probably much more to it. Then they got into office and had access to the material, and they wouldn't find anything. Now, it's a very embarrassing situation for them, having made such a to-do about it before they got into office, to find when they got there that there wasn't anything to it. So what makes sense to me is that the reason they're saying there wasn't anything to it is there isn't anything to it, because of the people who were involved were so out on a limb about this that it makes no sense that they would cover it up once they got into power, having been screaming about a cover-up before they got into power. So my feeling about this is it just isn't plausible that those three would lie now about what they found. It just is not plausible.
And I'll tell you personally, Dan Bongino said to me off camera what he said on camera. Oh, yeah, he killed himself, and, I found out. There's just no question. It was just, you know what it's like when someone's body language and you know them for a while, they just say, Brian, there's nothing there. And I just say, okay, case closed. Because I wasn't really following the case that close either. But you know who feels like we do? President Trump.
I don't.
President Trump
he does
not get it.
Well, he hates this story, and with good reason, because it's an unimportant story. It's embarrassing to him that he's got these people working for him who climbed out on this limb, and the limb has now been sawed off by reality. So I think, I'm sure he'd like it to go away, and I don't blame him. I mean, he makes the same point that I've been making, which is this thing doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in any large scheme of things that you can imagine, unless you want to believe that there's this big, deep state cover-up that implicates all kinds of important people, and that even people who were most suspicious are now involved in the cover-up. I'm sorry, I don't buy it.
So, Britt, I just can't wait to get your opinion on this. I mean, when I differ from the president. I think Ukraine are the good guys, and I thought it's worth giving them everything they need to be successful. President Trump didn't run on that. And I always thought that Iran can't be dealt with, and we have to take out that nuclear program on their own. The president said no Middle East wars. But he gets behind the Resolute desk. He looks at options. He has 5 rounds of talks, and he goes, I'm going to have to take out the nuclear program myself. And then after trying to deal with Vladimir Putin, he said I'd end it in a day. He goes, not the same guy. I'm going to give them Patriots. I'm working with NATO to get them more weapons. To me, that's great leadership. To certain elements of the party, it's a letdown. He's not doing what he said. How do you view it?
I view it as you do, Brian. I think that it's a cause that should be supported, and Vladimir Putin made, in my judgment, a terrible blunder when he went charging into Ukraine in the belief that he could have Ukraine in a matter of days. It didn't work out. The Ukrainians have turned out to be vastly more resilient than he ever imagined. They've been very brave, as the president has now said, and the only way this can work out for him is if he just attacks civilians. These are war crimes, by the way, and simply bludgeons his way through this war, which I don't think he can do if Ukraine is properly supported by the United States and its allies. And Putin needs to be made to pay for his mistake. If it works out for him, that's bad news for everybody else, in my view. And we don't want another example of the United States pulling the plug on an ally and having the bad guys win, and having the signal that would send to Beijing and elsewhere that the United States is weak and won't fight, or won't at least support allies who are fighting.
So the president said, I'm going to give him 50 days. I might go less than 50 days. But I also thought it was interesting that Lavrov was asked about the change in tone by the president. He's, the longtime serving foreign minister, cut 29.
It used to be 24 hours, and it was 100 days. We've all been through this. We already have an unprecedented number of sanctions declared against us, and we are coping. I have no doubt that we will cope.
But here's the difference. We're going to hit the people that are buying their cheap oil and gas, and that's Brazil, India, and China. That's the difference.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Now, it would cause major disruptions in the world. It might even lead to increases in the prices of fuel, gasoline, and the rest. But it would punish the hell out of Russia, and I think and I think the president. Look, I think the president really wants to make peace in the world, and I think he was fooled by Putin, conned, played into believing that Putin wanted peace. Putin doesn't want peace. Putin wants victory, triumph, conquest. And the president is now in a place he did not want to be. He didn't want to escalate this war with weapons and sanctions. He didn't want to do that. And he thought Putin was somebody he could count on and do business with. And that turns out not to be true. And it calls for a different policy. And I think he's so far shown that he's willing to make a change. It's no guarantee it's going to work out. It isn't going to be easy. Putin is evil as they come and utterly determined.
Absolutely. And lastly, Ken Langone was not for President Trump for the second term. And he is one of the most successful businessmen in the country and one of the greatest guys you're going to meet. He's the co-founder of Home Depot. But he's been watching what's happened over the last 6 months. And I just want to share you this. This is what he said on CNBC. Let's listen.
I am sold on Trump. In fact, I'll say this. I think he's got a good shot at going down in history as one of our best presidents ever.
That is a real turnaround because you didn't want to vote for him.
Well, I tell you the reason. I want to tell you, I'm a believer. What I'm seeing happening is absolutely nothing short of a great thing. People are walking with more bounce in there. It's all around. Knowledge implies one thing. When you made a mistake, admit it. One of the pilots on that miraculous trip to Iran that we wiped out, whatever the hell we wiped out, he said, you're the only guy that in the presidency that would have done what you did. One of the pilots said that.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's probably right.
So from reporter Brit Hume to analyst Brit Hume, do you understand where Ken Langone is coming from?
I absolutely do, Brian, and I'm rooting for this president to succeed. He's got a lot of irons in the fire, and he seems prepared at any given moment to add more. He's got a lot up in the air. So the question arises, how will this stuff all end up? And that will determine whether the idea that he could go down as a great president will come to pass. But I hope it does. And I hope it works out because he's doing a lot of things that need doing.
And I love the fact that he loves the country, going to celebrate our past. So year 250 will be like 1976 and not 1619. It'll be a celebration of America this next year. Brit, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Always good to talk to you, Brian. Thank you.
The great Brit Hume. Joining us now is Charles Gasparino, Fox Business senior correspondent. Charles, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Hey, first off, how would you characterize Mamdani meets the business leaders of New York City yesterday?
Are you on? I think most of the top business leaders did not show. None of the Wall Street guys showed. I mean, Jamie Dimon wasn't there. Steve Schwarzman wasn't there. Larry Fink wasn't there. They were all no-shows. I mean, that's a huge part of the city's economy, particularly Manhattan. For them not to show and to have the guy from Pfizer show up just shows you a few things. I mean, there's a degree of apathy. It also shows you that, Brian, this has been going on and in an accelerated manner since 2020, but going on before that when Comrade Bill de Blasio was the mayor and started introducing socialism to the city and defunding the police. I mean, you have an exodus of business out of the city. So, who's left isn't that important. I mean, Jamie Dimon has been moving operations out of New York. So has Goldman Sachs. David Solomon, by the way, the CEO of Goldman, wasn't there either. And, Mamdani, if he is elected, will accelerate that. These are firms that are starting to look at New York as a rounding error on their balance sheet. And, that's not good for the city economy. It's not good for anybody. But, it just shows you that, have money will travel. If you tell the business community we're going to defund the police, we're going to, socialize and take wealth away from people. We don't want billionaires. I mean, they're going to move. Okay.
So where are they going?
Dallas. Do you ever see the suburbs of Dallas right now?
Yeah.
They are
sprawling.
booming.
Yeah.
And booming. They're going to Miami. They're going to Nashville. They're going to places that are welcoming them and saying, we're not going to tax the hell out of you. We're going to have police that enforce the law. And, we're not going to treat you as the enemy. We should point out that, let's just say Zohran Mamdani doesn't win. Let's just say Eric Adams wins, or just say Andrew Cuomo wins. Do you think the political trajectory of New York, which is where all these companies are now domiciled, but probably soon won't be, and even if they're domiciled now, they move stuff over, they move stuff out. Do you think things will be that much different? I mean, what we have right now in New York, and you have the same thing with California, and tech is grappling with this as well, is state governments that are so one-party governments that are so skewed to the left that it just places enormous burdens on them and their workers to live there. That's why people are moving out of California. It's why New York has had tremendous out-migration of people and jobs. It just is what it is. And it makes running the welfare state here much more unaffordable. I mean, if you start projecting this out, you are talking that, a fiscal calamity that could come in the next 10 years if this type of government keeps getting elected in New York.
I know, let alone the crime.
And by the way, and I don't see Mamdani changing that. I mean, one of the things that struck me about Andrew Cuomo, he gave an interview, I think, with New York Magazine, is that he started parroting some of the weird stuff of Mamdani. He talked about too many billionaires, unless I'm misquoting him. I'm going to go back and recheck that quote. But I mean, why would you go there? I mean, it's like it's the Democratic Party. The leadership has been cowed by the far left so much that they're actually adopting their slogans and their policies almost to the T. I mean, remember, Mamdani's talking about socializing grocery stores. What Kamala Harris proposed during the campaign against Trump, which thank God she lost, wasn't all that much different. She was talking about price controls on groceries.
So I just want you to hear, the president was asked about this yesterday by Alexis, cut 4.
Another person that was meeting with business leaders today was Zohran Mamdani. I know you talk a lot about him. People didn't really know who he was not too long ago. His name's out there a lot. He kind of was able to make something happen in New York. He's going to meet with AOCs, coming to Washington, D.C. Is that the future of the Democratic Party there?
I tend to doubt it. Look, I think he's got a somewhat slightly different viewpoint on business and life than I do. I think you have two of the very great opposites. I have to wish him well. It's sort of lightning in a bottle. Let's see what happens.
He thinks it's going to be great for the Republican Party, terrible. He thinks he can come in and affect things in New York. but it's definitely going to be a struggle trying to affect a mayor as from Washington, D.C., Charles.
I think Trump, as he should, looks at this as a political positive. The more you can paint the Democratic Party as the party of weirdos like Mamdani and AOC and Bernie Sanders, when it really comes down to it, they have weird positions. They're weird. I mean, I remember they tried to get away with saying J.D. Vance because he's married and has 2 kids is weird. Do you remember that whole thing they tried to push during the campaign? I mean, the real weirdos are people like Mamdani who post sketches of people breakdancing to anti-Semitic breakdancing and stuff like that. I mean, and AOC who just, is probably the least, competent policy person in Congress right now. You just listen to her talk for 5 minutes and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, Trump actually benefits by having Mamdani running. Even though New York is in the it's in the downslope of its power and its prominence, it still is the media capital of the world, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So we work there, right? So, it's good to have Mamdani on TV every day spewing his nonsense.
So I want to talk, Charles, can we pivot? We'll see where this game goes. And I really hope that even though it would help the president, I really hope that this guy loses. If I had my choice, Curtis Lee would be the best, but as a Republican, he's got almost a very small shot. But I would take Eric Adams, who's allied with the president and probably knows a lot more than he did 4 years ago. But Charles, I want to talk about our economy and the trade deals. I sense by August 1st, we're going to get the EU done. I sense we're going to get India done. Here's Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, cut 14.
You've got more than $15 trillion of committed investment coming into America. So we know the economy is going to be on fire. You know it. Plus, you've got the tariff revenue pouring in. So Donald Trump is feeling very, very strong. And that strength is going to show up in his trade deals. So what he said to Indonesia today was very simple. Open your whole market. And I mean, open it. No tariffs, no trade barriers. And you can only pay us 19%. Think about Donald Trump. He's opening markets for our businesses to export, and he's earning us 19% to pay down our debt. I mean, he is fixing the trade deficit point by point.
So I know Howard sells, where Scott Bessent reports almost. How do you feel about what he just said?
I just don't trust anything Howard says. It's just, listen, I remember he's been signaling that we have an India deal for like 4 months now. I mean, and we have no deal, right? So, I mean, I'm sure it's going to come someday, but I mean, hopefully sooner rather than later. I will just say this. If there's one weak part of the Trump economy and the Trump administration, and, Trump has done like amazing things so far. I mean, on so many levels, including, the big, beautiful budget, which is not really big and beautiful, but it's what we needed for now. Right. And hopefully we can get some growth in the economy from the tax cuts and the deregulation. But when it really comes down to it, these tariffs are price increases, taxes on people that buy the goods, and he has no deals, and and that sort of uncertainty can't be good. Now, whether when all's said and done, and here's what I don't know, Brian, and no one knows, do the tax cuts, do the deregulation, does all the positive stuff of the Trump economy outweigh any of the negatives from these tariffs? I don't know. I mean, we saw some stuff in the recent CPI report with an uptick in inflation.
But it's not much.
It wasn't.
And it was
massive.
as predicted, right? We want it closer to 2, but it's closer to 3.
It was a little higher. It's happening. I mean, it's as predicted. People say the tariffs are going to kick in.
How do you feel about the tariff revenue that's came in, $25 billion this month?
Good,
overall,
but remember, it's static, right? It's the same analysis that Republicans and Trump yells at the CBO about, right? They say, well, if you cut taxes, the CBO says it's a deficit. It doesn't count the increased revenue that comes from the tax increases. It's the same thing with the tariffs. Trump's playing the same game. You get the tariff revenue up front What you don't get is if those tariffs cause other tariffs to kick in with countries taxing your goods, and it leads to a decline in GDP. Do they cancel each other out? I mean, these are just all issues, Brian. And to be honest with you, I can't tell you where these numbers are going to, whether these tariffs are going to be net positive or negative.
My prediction, Charles, you know my
anybody
prediction.
that does tells you they don't know. You can predict all you want, but no one knows.
I will say this. I think by August 1st, just judging by what Germany's been saying and their chancellor and how direct he is with the president and how deliberate he is with the Patriots and everything else, he told the EU last week, he said, I want this deal done. Enough. I need this deal done. And he's the most powerful.
But they've been saying that forever. I mean,
but this is a new chancellor. But this is why I think that and India get done. Because I think the president wants the best deal, and he wants just like baseball and football want the trade deadline and basketball, they want the trade deadline. They want that August 1st date. So give me the best deal, wait to the last minute, brinksmanship, and pull the trigger. That's my prediction.
You remember that Shakespearean sonnet, tomorrow, 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 creeps in at this petty pace from day to day? That's what this is. It's always tomorrow. And it's about time we just do some stuff. And that's why it's hard to take Howard Lutnick seriously.
Yeah, you're not a fan.
No, I like him personally. I just don't. No, he's a nice guy. I know him for years. I just don't trust him on this.
Charles, thanks so much. What are you working on now?
I'm going to do the Big Money Show for Fox Business in a few minutes. I'm going to write my column for the New York Post, which I do a midweek column as well. I'm covering just regular business stuff, mergers and acquisitions in media. There's going to be some on smaller deals. I'm covering Mr. Mamdani, our wonderful mayor. Is he mayor yet? Yes, he is kind of mayor right now. Yeah. I'm only kidding. Yeah.
So, Charles, good luck. That's a full plate. I don't want you overdoing it. I want you to balance that out with a good cardiovascular workout.
And I'm going to lift. I'm going to go to the I'm actually going to lift today.
He's always lifting weights, this guy. Charles Gasparino, thanks so much.
All right. See you.
Got to survive in New York. He's great.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. He now owns a soccer team, making him even more boring. Host of Fox and Friends and One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. Brian, I know this is hard for you to kind of imagine because no one ever asks you for your signature. What do you think is going on with the auto pen, and can this be undone?
Here's the question. What did he actually do? And it brings me to you.
Yes.
Because people look at your monologue and they say it's so funny, it's so insightful, it's so you.
Oh,
but no one's ever seen you in the writing room. No one's ever seen you on a conference call. We see you in the hall. You're not funny. There is some scandal here that has yet to bubble up. And that's why I think you're so aggressively pursuing the auto pen story. That's my story.
How dare he? I think we know why Steve Ducey moved to Florida.
It's pretty funny, right?
Yeah, just a little bit of the chaos of last night.
Yes, it was chaotic. It was Kennedy. It was Adam Hunter,
Emily
as
Compagno.
well as Emily Compagno. And together, Emily is going to be interesting because Emily told me she's got a live show. So I said, Emily, what are you going to be doing? And she said, well, I tell the story of my book because I got this. All my family's been in the military, and the book's about military. And I also play air guitar. And I'm going to have an air guitar contest with the audience. And I go, really? She goes, I love air guitar. So that is going to be very interesting. It's going to be in New Jersey. We were in New Jersey. We did History, Liberty, and Laughs there. Great crowd, great facility.
She has a lot of random interests.
I know.
That's fantastic.
She's a cheerleader, lawyer.
Yes, loves cars.
Yeah,
working out.
Deltoids.
Yeah, good arms.
Yeah, good arms, yeah. Not that matters. I don't think you need good arms to be successful in television, do you think?
You don't, but it helps. It's a good talking point because everyone's like, wow, look how cut her arms are.
Right.
What does she do?
But
I want her workout.
It helps. If you have good arms and you're a woman, it's a lot easier. Like if you're a guy and you have good arms and you're like, why does he never wear sleeves? Like no one ever looks at a woman with good arms and go, why doesn't she wear sleeves?
It's true. Why doesn't she wear sleeves? You're right, but I feel like it's also expected that guys should have good arms.
You think so? You think it's expected? Tell it to David Hogg.
Yeah. I do also think, off topic, sort of, good arms is partially genetic. Whether you can be that cut up or not. Like some people just get cut easily. Yeah. But others, can still be in shape and just might not be as cut. But
I agree with that.
Speaking of other talents, Kennedy also did a mean James Carville impression on Gutfeld. So
It's a failure to communicate. The Democrat Party is being taken over by a man called Mamdani, and Daddy needs to come home so those chickens can roost.
Kilmeade, you're familiar with being in a fetal position. Is this good advice for Democrats? And to Emily's point, and who is he talking to?
I'm not really sure. Also, James
I own a
Carville's
soccer team. I can make fun of people. Go ahead.
host is supposed to be nice. Right? They asked to come over, and it's like, for the record, your accent was more Gone with the Wind than James Carville. I didn't know what era I was in. Which, by the way, they colorized Gone with the Wind. It ruined everything.
Ah, yeah, you hate color.
Okay.
What does that even mean?
Back to our... I don't know.
So there you go. I'm not sure what that show is about last night.
it was very fun. You guys were all over the place, which has made these cuts a little hard. But I mean, the criticizing of Kennedy's accent, is that a new thing for your resume?
Because what is he she's kind of doing like a formal Southern gentleman.
That's fair.
But James Carville is not a Southern gentleman.
But he is Southern.
He's Cajun. Like a raw, working class, uneducated.
Curses a lot.
Does unkept. I mean, sweatshirt.
I mean, how
wearing
unkept?
hat.
He's like bald. You can't be that unkept when you're bald, right?
Well, that's the only thing that stops him from being totally out of control. I mean, is the fact he has no hair, is what you're saying. So, Lieutenant General Walt Piatt is in studio. He's the Wounded Warrior Project CEO. Big day tomorrow. We have the Soldier Ride, which really started with Tony Snow, and this radio show, which I ended up taking over because he went to the White House, and now it's getting bigger than ever. They're going to be heading out all the way to the Hamptons. If you don't know New York, no, it's about 60 miles. So there'll be a few stops, and it's not going to be easy. General, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me. Good to be back in New York.
Yeah, so tell me how the Wounded Warrior Project's doing.
Oh, we're doing really good. I mean, sadly, there's still a big need out there. Many warriors and their families are suffering from, their impacts of in their life of military service. As I said, most young men and women, they have to, unfortunately, accept the end of the life they thought they were going to have and embrace a life they didn't think was possible. And we're there to help them. We're there to help them get in a new path of life of hope and renewed purpose and get physically and mentally strong and bring every warrior home, mind, body, and soul.
And when you talk about the issue now, it's no longer two hot wars going on at once, and who knows what other conflicts happening in Africa. You have things to settle down. So we're seeing the aftermath of that. How many people are enrolled with the Wounded Warrior Project?
We're almost at 300,000 now. We bring in about 25,000 a year. We're trying to get that number more because so many men and women have served since 9/11 in uniform. So I think the need is greater than what we have registered. So we're constantly looking out for warriors. And I tell every community, if you know a veteran that served after 9/11 and needs help, we'll get them the help, or we'll get them to the place that they need.
What kind of help do they need?
Mostly, I think, first off, it's normally just filing their claim with Veterans Affairs. It's a difficult process, and for any warrior, especially if they got a traumatic brain injury, any type of injury, it's hard to do. We help them with that. It's kind of our initial handshake, so they know you're not connected, you are special, you're a veteran, your nation cares about you, we care about you. And then we help them with financial planning, Warriors to Work program, help them get a job. But a big range of our programs have to deal with mental health, the invisible wounds of war. And we have a lot of things, and this Soldier Ride is one of them. It looks like we're riding bicycles, but it's movement towards healing. It's getting everyone outside, reconnecting, getting them in a beautiful place like New York City. When you should see what the city does for us, your nation appreciates your service, and that helps the warrior feel appreciated and helps the warrior come home.
How do you feel about with Marcus Luttrell and his brother and Governor Perry of Texas talking about psychedelics and dealing with the psychology of coming back from war? They're claiming that it's unbelievably successful.
We're actually backing some research on it as well with MDMA, and there's other treatments. We're following the science. So we have a warrior care network. We leverage academic universities across the country, from UMass in Boston to Emory in Atlanta, Rush in Chicago, UCLA in California. And we're allowing the world's best scientists to research this. So we want to follow the science, and the data will show. I believe there's hope for it, and it will be, you'll know the exact doses. It'll be made. You'll know where it's made. It'll be treated by a trained physician that will apply it. anything that is showing promise, we need to continue to research, especially because PTSD is treatable. We do a wide range of programs that help it, and you help a warrior deal with it. If there are better ways, and there will be, we need to follow the science, do the research, especially too with traumatic brain injury. That's where we don't know enough. PTSD we've been doing for several years now, so we're learning a lot more. But with traumatic brain injuries, we don't know. There's still much more we need to know and what are the best treatments. Then when we find those treatments, Brian, and I'm hoping we will, I'm optimistic that we will, and I think MDMA will have a part.
What is MDMA?
Well, it's the psychedelics that you're talking about. So it's a drug, but it's not something where a warrior is going in a room and they're getting high from it. It's not that at all. It's clinically administered with other evidence-based therapies, so we can help the warrior, unleash these memories that they're having, and it's showing promise in research. So I think once the science is there, our nation will make good decisions. Then it'll be hard to scale it because I think the numbers are greater than we think, and it's not just veterans, it's first responders, it's a lot of people in an auto accident, they've been through trauma, they're suffering from post-traumatic trauma, and they need help.
So you focus on the people that serve, though. I know that Tunnel to Towers expanded, and they're starting to do first responders. That's not your focus.
No, we're 9/11. We're post 9/11, and that was really because and veterans, but their family members as well. Because when a warrior comes back and he or she is suffering from injuries of war, the whole family suffers. The children suffer, the spouse, the extended family. So we have a family support member. My wife is a family support member. She's actually on one of our programs right now in Colorado. She was doing stand-up boarding yesterday. She's out doing physical activities and learning. So the families are a big part. But I'm a big fan of Tunnels to Towers too, because first responders, they're able to help many that need help, especially with homelessness of veterans and first responders. People who serve this great country should not be left homeless. That's just not the way America shows their appreciation. And I think Tunnels for Towers, other programs out there that help our veterans and our other first responders and other people in need, God bless them for doing so.
How did the Afghanistan withdrawal affect the men and women that served?
I think there was great anxiety. I was still serving in the Pentagon at that time. What I tell our friends that I've served with that, our nation committed a lot there, and there was many successes that we'll probably never know. Many terrorist networks that never were able to attack us because of our time in Afghanistan. Policy decisions are what they are, and military executes them. But I think a lot of warriors were left and families with questions. I think it created anxiety, and they just needed help, and it allowed us to help them deal with other things they were dealing with. It wasn't necessarily the withdrawal, it was probably the withdrawal that triggered other issues that they experienced in Afghanistan that they never dealt with. So I think it, in some way, probably helped with awareness and got people to seek help because of the things and the hard service they went through while serving in Afghanistan. So
and then Soldier Ride tomorrow, how is it going to lay out?
No, it's going to be great. We're starting right here, right downstairs. So
48th
thanks
and
again.
6th in Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah, so thanks for having us again. And then we'll ride to Coney Island, so 20-plus miles tomorrow. And then day 2 will be in Babylon, day 3 in the Hamptons. It really originated out in the Hamptons. So for us, it's the power of movement. It's the healing power, So we're going to ride together. We have warriors showing up today, getting fitted. Many of them yesterday probably thought about not coming because they're full of anxiety, and it happens every time. So they'll be very nervous tonight. They'll be very nervous tomorrow. But after about midday, especially when we get to Coney Island, they'll all be smiling. They'll be hugging one another. Then they'll start telling stories. We'll probably be crying and smiling by day 2. So it really is not about the physical activity of riding a bicycle for 3 days in this beautiful state out Long Island. It's really about the power of movement and healing and coming together and that connection that this particular Soldier Ride offers them.
How do you feel about the Pentagon's new rules where they're trying to make men and women and bring up the standards a little bit and get the political correctness out? Have you felt the ripple effect down range?
I did not. Well, in my time in service, I did a lot to promote access to women in what we would call combat arms. So I was the chief of infantry at one time, and we wanted women to get into Ranger School. As met the story from former Medal of Honor recipient, the late Colonel Ralph Puckett. He built Ranger School for the Army. It's one of the toughest schools the Army has, but it was for men only. And when we were asked to explore how do we integrate women into Ranger School, Ralph was the first guy I called. And I said, sir, I'm going to need your help because we got to do this. We need women to get this training.
Without lowering the standards because it puts people's lives at risk.
Right. And he said, I'll never forget it because he said, Walt, it's about time. But we never lowered the standards. I mean, that school's hard no matter, it was hard when I went through it, and it's hard for everybody. So I got to see that women in uniform, when given the opportunity to compete in a fair level play, they will excel. They will do things just like any athlete will. Some athletes are faster, bigger, stronger. And I think what they wanted was just to be treated fairly and be given an opportunity to serve in some branches that were formerly, prohibited from serving just because of their gender. I think the military gets it right. It's like a NFL football team. You either can block or run or you can't. So in the military, you either can shoot or you can't. We just measure the outcome. You've got to perform to the high standards our military demands. And I think that, demanding high standards is what the Army's always done for 250 years, and I think they're going to continue to do it. That's why we're the best.
And the numbers show, General, that the recruiting's gone up on almost every branch. Anecdotally, or whether you saw the numbers, do you get that sense?
Yes, I do. It's hard to say what
unemployment's at 4%. Usually they say when economic strife leads a lot of people to the military insurgency, but we don't have an uneven economic situation.
Right. I don't know if we ever get it right. When people say a lot of things like that, like what's impact, I don't know if we get it. I think there's still a desire to serve, and I see young people in this country today, and I think they get a bad rap. Like they're lazy, they're not physically active, but I think they want to serve more than they want to, be paid. They want to serve. We get that in our organization. People maybe not signing up for the military, but they want to come work for Wounded Warrior Project because they want to give to something greater than themselves. And I think the military always attracts that.
Right.
And we get great citizens from this country to put their hand up.
Did you go through the academy?
I did not. I was enlisted first, so I came in as a private. I went to a small college in Pennsylvania, and with the after I got out as a sergeant, I was very proud of my enlisted time. I loved it. I joined because my father was in World War II. Most of my teachers and high school coaches all served. I thought that's what you did. You got out of high school, you joined the military service, you got out, you went back and taught school and coached football. That was my dream.
Right.
Didn't work out so well, but 42 years later, I hung it up. But I just love our military because they're just so full of people that are there for the right reasons. They just want to give.
I hear you. So Lieutenant General Walter Piatt, thanks so much. If you people want to give to the Wounded Warrior Project or be part of it, what do they do?
WoundedWarriorProject.com, WoundedWarriorProject.org. Come donate or sign up for our services, and we have ways for many people to volunteer. You'll see it at Soldier Ride now. You'll see the communities come out tomorrow, and at Babylon and at Hamptons. They just want to come out and say thank you. They'll ride along with us. Every little bit helps because it shows a warrior they're appreciated and that their country cares about.
All right. Thanks so much, General. Great to see you again.
Thank you, sir.